Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger, and then that's it. That's it on this episode here.
Yeah, it's funny being alone in your basement, just ourselves talking back and forth to each other here.
It's actually really weird and borderline uncomfortable because Jack and I, normally we have producer Zach here and Ziggy in front of us on the television screen, but when I'm looking at the camera here, like I'm just looking into nothing. And Jack's just sitting, I'm talking to Jack who's sitting next to me. We're just looking into nothing. So
it's literally us two just speaking to each other, but not looking at each other.
Yeah,
that's what
a little bit bizarre. No headphones or anything. So it's just us talking into an empty basement, which is really strange.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm getting used to it.
I guess that's part of it when, we don't have a studio or anything. So we don't have this fancy stuff where we could, sit and look at each other. We're stuck behind the bar here.
Hopefully we'll get there one day. One day in the near future.
So everybody who's enjoying this channel so far, please remember to like the video, comment on it, subscribe to the channel. We're having a really good week, post week 3. Some really big videos for us. A bunch of people subscribing. That's awesome. If you want to become a member, you can always join by going to our channel homepage and clicking join to become a member of the channel. And this week is actually going to be one of the weeks where we have in our Pigskin Pick'em challenge on ESPN. So that we're having a season-long challenge, but we also have every 4 weeks an individual week event where the winner that week will win a T-shirt. So this week, week 4 is the first one we have where whoever wins this outright, the tiebreaker will be points from one of the games. You get a T-shirt from the Paul Farrington Show website. So even if you haven't joined in time to really compete for the whole season, unless you think you can dominate, then feel free to join just for this week and put your skills to the test, and maybe you walk away with some merch.
I mean, you got to get past this guy. He's been unstoppable.
On fire?
Not even know. I don't know how I did last week. I plugged in my picks at 12:59 p.m. before kickoff. I got to check to see how I did. I was 9-7 week 1.
So if you just want merch, you can always head over to Paul Farrington Show, or I'm sorry, not paulfarringtonshow.com. That doesn't exist anymore. You can go in the description of this video. There's a link to our merch shop. And if you can't follow us or check it out on YouTube, you can always head over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts to listen on audio. So week 3 is in the books, Jack. It's crazy how fast the NFL season goes. You walk outside now, and it's kind of getting cold. It's a little brisk.
Yeah.
Fall air coming down right now. All of a sudden, we're going to be, after this week, we're roughly a quarter of the way through the season. And it's just nuts how fast it goes. And somehow, some way, I'm looking up at a graphic at the gym today. And it says the 3 undefeated teams. And we'll see. It looks like Buffalo will be undefeated too. But it says the 3 undefeated teams. The Seattle Seahawks had a 20% chance to be undefeated going into the year at this point, according to ESPN metrics. The Pittsburgh Steelers, your Pittsburgh Steelers, a 10% chance of being undefeated. And my Minnesota Vikings, an 8% chance of being undefeated. I was actually surprised it was even 8.
That's almost like 1/10. Yeah.
The only guy in the country, I think, who had them beating the 49ers and the Texans was you.
It was me. Yeah.
The only person.
Yeah,
you could go back. You could go back and watch the video. It's unbelievable. We do schedule predictions, and I'm a Vikings fan, and I didn't see this coming. And Jack's going, beat the 49ers, Darnold revenge game. Beat the Texans, Houston's not ready yet. Beat the Jets, Darnold revenge game. He's just rattling through this. He had us like 7 or 8-0, and we just laughed at him. And
yeah, I told you. I've said it time and time again. I'm a Darnold guy. I think a change of scenery is what was needed. The same type of deal as Baker Mayfield. I think that's big. When you have a black cloud organization like the Jets and the Panthers, now you're in Minnesota. People are doubting you. People have doubted you your whole career so far. I think you're in a good spot this year with the Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings being 3-0 is shocking. Pittsburgh is, frankly, Jack, I'm shocked that you guys are undefeated.
No, I'm not shocked we're 3-0. I had us what, 15-2?
Well, no, I do think you're a good football team, but I didn't think you'd beat Atlanta. I thought you would beat Denver. I guess maybe not as much a disaster as we thought. And then this week, I did have you beating the Chargers, but that's, the Herbert injury I thought came into play a little bit there.
It wouldn't have mattered.
A little bit.
It wouldn't have mattered.
So those two, and then Seattle, I think, is New England, Denver, and an injured Miami team. I'm actually not surprised that they're 3-0. I'm really actually not too bought in on Seattle at the moment, even though they are undefeated.
And the defenses look great. They do have a solid defense over there in the Pacific Northwest. Those the Seahawks, but I can't. It's tough to trust Geno Smith in the passing offense. Like
I know, I've said it so many times, but it does feel like the same exact Seahawks team.
Yeah, like a team will go
season.
9-8, maybe get the 7th seed and get spanked. Like it's the same type of deal. I don't think that they're much better of a team than they have been in the prior years. Like, what's to believe they're going to be any better than they have?
I can't believe that you're sitting here in week 3 with a 2-game lead on the division.
Again, I'm not sure.
2-game lead on the Ravens and the Bengals right now. It's just,
I'm surprised.
And the Browns, it's crazy.
I'm surprised the Bengals are 0-2.
Well,
I'm not big on Baltimore.
It's been it's been a crazy start to the year. Is it crazy to say that right now this is the most open the league has been in years?
I mean, yeah, look, you got San Francisco.
Do you think?
You got San Fran 1-2. I mean, Seattle's got a 2-game lead on them in the West. Jamar Chase catches a 50-yard touchdown on the first drive of the game.
Producer Jack and I had a lot of money on a Jamar Chase touchdown tonight, so you get a live reaction to winning a bet.
We're recording during the Monday night game here to come out tomorrow.
That's hysterical.
And producer Zach, shout out. He's 2 for 2 today.
So the NFC specifically, like you were saying, though, the 49ers have seemed to have a grip on that for a few years.
And they're 2 games back now.
Yeah, they're 2 games back. The Cowboys are one of those other 3. Would you say it's really been the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Eagles have been the class of the NFC for the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even just say 49ers and Eagles.
Yeah, and the Eagles last year fell apart too.
Yeah, but no, you have that core of 3 who I go into every season the last couple of years. Like, all right, one of these 3 will rep the NFC, the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Go Knights.
Yeah, the NFC in the Super Bowl. It's the Dallas Cowboys, the Niners, and the Eagles. Like, I totally agree. Now the Lions have crept their way into a top 4 team in that category as well. But now you look, San Francisco's 2 back. Dallas is 1-2.
Philly is 2-1. I think Philly now is probably looking the best in the NFC.
Philly's 2-1, but like
maybe not, over a couple of teams. But
they've looked kind of sloppy. But Detroit 2-1 have looked mediocre. The Vikings 3-0. I think right now, I know it's only 3 weeks in, it's an overreaction, but this is anybody's NFC. Yeah. It's not just San Francisco, Dallas, and Philly like we're used to seeing. I mean, in prior years, those teams are all 3-0. It's like, okay, here we go again.
I'm with you. I feel it feels kind of fun, especially as a fan of a team who is 3-0, and for any NFC fan right now, it's seeing the 49ers and the Cowboys have these weaknesses. I know a second ago I said Philly does not look like the best team in the NFC right now. I just think they might be my pick at the moment in the NFC of a team to emerge. But it's fun being a fan of an NFC team saying, wow, we're kind of perceived as more middle of the road, most of the Vikings. And there's a real shot here that they can make some noise if things go right.
And every game, too, this isn't like Major League Baseball's 162 games. Like, every game matters. It's only 16 games. It's a short season. It reminds me of when that season in MLB was shortened to 60 and the Marlins got in, like, a smaller sample size. Every week is crucial. Like, to gain a game is super.
Oh, it all matters.
It all matters. Like, being 3-0 and now having... if you beat Green Bay this weekend, you're 4-0, they're 2-2. That's a 2-game lead a quarter of the way through.
With the tiebreaker advantage.
Yeah, too. That is super massive. Same thing with us in Pittsburgh, being 2 games up off the bat on Cincinnati and Baltimore. That's the big lead right off the bat. I mean, 2 games is tough to make up.
And especially too with with San Francisco, something that I want to pay attention to, because I do still believe in the 49ers to be a very good team this year. Like, it is still so early, and we talk all the time about college sports on this show, like how it relates. And college teams that lose early, you kind of forget about it by November. Like football is so week to week that in week 10, week 11, week 12, you could have a completely different narrative than week 3. Like, we might completely forget about this 49ers team. I mean, last year, didn't they lose 3 in a row last year?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they come on red hot at towards the end. So it always changes. It changes so quickly. The Saints were 2-0 last year. People forget the Saints were 2-0 last year, and then a dumpster fire.
They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah.
So it all changes so fast that I'm not ready to throw anyone under the rug just yet. But seeing San Francisco, the injuries that they have, you never know with them. If those guys can't come back, then it's going to be a problem. So that's why I'm excited. I'm not happy anyone's hurt, but that's why I'm excited, saying, the door is open to take advantage this year.
Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey, Ayuk's they give him a huge bag. He's been kind of yet to show up right now, and they've slipped 2 games out of first place in their own division.
Yeah. So the 49ers are a team to pay attention to right now. The main segment on today's show that we're going to do So everyone knows Ziggy's not here right now. Ziggy,
shame.
I mean, a staple of the show.
It's a shame.
Like really,
people will tune in tomorrow and be like, oh, like darn it. Like,
you see comments that people say like, I'm here for Ziggy. Like it really is. No one wants to see this. No one wants to see this right now.
I mean, you can't blame them. Like Ziggy's like he's
the man.
He's a sex symbol.
He is becoming a sex symbol of the 21st century. So anyway, though, what we did, we're going to do the most vulnerable division champions today. How that's going to work from 8 to 1, one being the most vulnerable current defending division champion who's in danger of losing their crown. As opposed to Jack and I just sitting here, rattling off our own lists. What we said is, all right, Ziggy, since you're the brains of this show. I mean, clearly these guys have to be the looks. I mean, this is an amazing cast.
I mean, you with the backwards hat, you with the shades.
It's just they could go all day.
There'll be some girls lining up downstairs in a sec to come watch.
People are currently turning off YouTube and going to audio if they even want to finish. That's probably what's really happening here.
Probably.
But we went to Ziggy. We went to the brains of the show and we said, Ziggy, why don't you give us your list of 8 to 1, the least vulnerable to most vulnerable division champion, and we'll react to it and we'll say who's the biggest threat to the teams currently trying to hold on to their division crown. So without further ado, here's Ziggy's list. All right. And we're going to say whether or not we agree with it, because Ziggy, for as smart as he is, and I'm serious, guys, Ziggy consumes knowledge at a rate like no one I've ever seen before. When we first met Ziggy, he didn't know anything about football. Nothing at all. And next thing you know, he's hosting a show talking about like he's been watching his entire life. Like the guy's unbelievable. But he's prone to have interesting takes.
Like the Chargers being the third best team in the NFL. That was an interesting
you go like, all right, what's really going on here?
What are you talking about?
How can someone so smart say something like this?
Say something so dumb.
So you never know. Like Ziggy's list could be great or horrible. But without further ado, number 8.
No, I haven't seen this list yet.
Jack has not seen it. This is my first time. Jack basically has an idea of who he thinks is most and least vulnerable, but he hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I've not seen this list.
At number 8, the least vulnerable division champion, he has the Buffalo Bills. I disagree.
As the least vulnerable, I'd probably disagree. I was big on the Dolphins, obviously not anymore. But I hate to say this, I really do, because I don't like the Jets, but the Jets are good. Like Aaron Rodgers last Thursday night, he looked real solid. Like he was able to move. He looked super mobile. The arm was there. Like he looked like 75% of what we're used to seeing Aaron Rodgers look like. And if he can do that all season long with this defense they have, the Jets will be right up there. I mean, this is the team who can split with the Bills for sure.
No, I completely agree with you. The Patriots and the Dolphins, especially without Tua, unfortunately, like the Patriots will give you tough games. The Dolphins without Tua, I mean, you saw it. You saw Seattle this weekend. So like I'm writing them off. But that's the concern for Buffalo. If you're going to have a concern, you've kind of owned this division for a while now. But it's that Aaron Rodgers looked like an MVP, the MVP Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still picking Buffalo to win the division. I think the Jets will be a wild card. But to say Buffalo's the least vulnerable, I disagree with that.
That spot has to be Kansas City. Kansas City has to be the
yes, that should be Kansas
City. And that is actually Ziggy's 17 are the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 3-0 right now, but if you really sit back and think about it, like, who's challenging them in this division? The Broncos had an impressive win, very impressive against Tampa, but I don't see that turning into anything. I mean, the Raiders just had the worst loss of the year. I mean, like the Raiders. What are you going to get, good or bad? Vegas, you don't really know.
Their win against Baltimore is cute.
Yeah, and especially in hindsight with this Panthers game, and then the Chargers. Like they're a tough team. I mean, they win in the trenches a lot of the times, but you guys pulled away from them late, and Herbert was hurt. But are they really going to upset the defending Super Bowl the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions? No.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are a good team with a good defense, but for years and years and years, the Chiefs have owned this division, and with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, the Chargers couldn't get it done.
There's no fire.
There's no reason to believe they're getting it done now.
Like you're watching the game this weekend. You're not scared of Quentin Johnson. I think Quentin Johnson could turn into a fine receiver, but you're not scared of Quentin Johnson. You're not scared of Josh Palmer or Ladd McConkey or J.K. Dobbins. Herbert's the guy, and he's banged up. So
the Chiefs should be the least vulnerable.
But the Chargers are the team, the biggest.
The only team who have a chance. Yeah.
Okay, so number 6. You have a guess?
Number 6.
So he's Bills, Chiefs.
I know he doesn't like Baltimore. They wouldn't be number 5. Is it? It's got to be in the NFC. Detroit.
Now he has the 49ers.
Okay.
So he has San Francisco here at 5. And I think it's an okay spot for San Fran.
Yeah, I'd probably agree.
They are 2 games back, though.
If I was higher on Seattle,
on
Seattle, I'd put the Niners lower on this list. I don't think the Cardinals are there yet. They had a chance to really prove it to me against the Lions at home.
And they flopped.
Yeah, I'm not there yet with the Cardinals. I'm not quite there with the Rams. That took a ridiculous miracle.
It took a miracle win.
Yeah, fluke comeback. It was a great win for sure. But a 16-game season, I don't think anybody beats out San Francisco.
It is crazy that they're 2 games back, and it still feels like it's they're gonna win. Like they'll find a way. But McCaffrey hurt, Debo hurt. Like we were talking about this just a few moments ago. There does come a point in the year where all of a sudden you go, oh wait, this
100%.
They're running out of
time.
But
like they could run lower on this list soon, but they're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
If I was higher on Seattle, I'd put them lower, but I don't see Arizona yet, and the Rams took a miracle to beat San Francisco.
Do you think that Seattle is even the biggest challenge? If you're a 49ers fan, who would you be most scared of?
I'd probably say the Rams.
I think that's exactly who I have too.
Yeah, I'd probably say the Rams. They got the veteran quarterback, just beat them.
Seattle fans are probably so pissed off here, screaming at any Seattle fans watching are saying, like, are you kidding? We're 3-0 right now. The Rams have no Puka, no Cup, and you're telling me that we're not the biggest threat to the 49ers?
You know what Seattle reminds me of, though? And I hate to admit this, it's like the NFC version of the Steelers the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great comparison.
Yeah, I mean, no, it is. And
They'll be around, but they're not really a threat.
Look, you got great salmon. The city's great. I had a great time there. I'm not super high on your team, though.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll prove me wrong.
They'll have the opportunity to. But Seattle, they haven't done anything.
I like the defense.
I mean, they're winning. You know what? Then that is hard. That's why we said on the show a few times. Winning's very hard in the NFL, and to be 3-0. It's a good accomplishment, but in terms of threatening the defending NFC champions, I put more money on Matt Stafford, who just beat them,
than
finding a way to win. And then if Kupp and Puka do come back and they're a game or 2 out, that's when it could get a little bit closer. And I mean, that's sort of why you saw Sean McVay. Like you don't see Sean McVay going that crazy. Like he was really pumped up after that win because that was their season right there.
Yeah, and this is also the Rams now sit there at 2-1, and.
1-2.
Oh, they're 1-2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's the right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. But I was gonna say, like, a team who should be 2-1, like they were play with Detroit on the road week 1 and hung right there with them. I trust Stafford more than I trust Kyler and the Cardinals and Geno and Seattle. That's what it comes down to.
So we move on to number 5, and here he has the Houston Texans as the 5th. I guess the 5th most vulnerable team.
I mean, this is more so just, I think it's him just thinking the rest of the South
completely
is so bad. Yeah. Because I know he said in the last episode, and I agree with him, I'm not the highest in the world on Houston. And especially after this week now, I mean, it was a bloodbath in Minnesota. But you look at Jacksonville, Tennessee, who's 0-3, the Colts, who look pretty bad.
The Colts look horrible. Well, the one team who made the Colts offense look dangerous? The Texans in week 1.
Yeah.
The Texans, if you really look up and down the schedule right now, embarrassed in Minnesota. Wasn't even close. Week 1, I mean, look at how the Colts have looked against the Bears and the Packers the past 2 weeks versus how we talked about them week 1. Week 1, we were talking about Anthony Richardson, emerging. And the past 2 weeks, he's leading the league in interceptions right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jacksonville. I mean, I think Jacksonville's the biggest threat here, but
I think the biggest threat is I don't even maybe Indy. I really don't even know.
I think it has to be Jacksonville.
Maybe
even because I mean they've at least shown Indianapolis has been incompetent.
If Jacksonville, I know we're recording live, but if they're down, they're getting killed right now. They're 0-3. Yeah,
they'll be 0-3. The Titans are 0-3, and the Colts are 1-2. So I'm with you though. I think this is more of the Texans haven't looked great. I mean, this offense that was supposed to be dominant, and they might get there. Outside Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs hasn't looked that good. I mean, Joe Mixon looked good when he was healthy.
Yeah,
but Tank Dell has done nothing. You're kind of waiting for these guys, and I think you will see it eventually. But I don't mind them at 5 because
it's so bad.
Just
Like
the
they could be 9-8 and win it. I mean, I think the Colts out of those other 3 teams,
you go Colts.
with AR, I know he's looked really bad, but with the potential that he might have the highest ceiling. I'm out on Jacksonville completely.
Yeah,
I think Jacksonville looks super terrible.
I'm picking Jacksonville as the biggest threat, but not really a huge. And that stinks because I thought they were going to be good to start the season. I really did think that they had a chance to turn around.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, so number 4 here. Now we're into the more dangerous side of the 18.
I know who I think I'd put here.
Who would you put here?
I think I'd probably put Baltimore here.
I think I would too, but he has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he has the Bucs at 2-1, the Falcons are 1-2, and the Saints are 2-1 as well right now. So
I don't hate that.
It looked like Tampa was ready to roll to a 3-0 start. Yeah. I mean, you were expecting them to go and crush Denver.
I don't hate that there.
But it's a little. I do have a little bit of a problem because they just lost by 20 to the Broncos. The Broncos have been horrible.
Like we've said time and time again, this is a week-by-week reaction to the NFL. I mean, we were saying last week how the Bucs and Saints might run away, how Atlanta might be out of it this early. And now it's the Falcons who picked up a road win in Philly and probably should have beat the Chiefs. I mean, that was a missed PI call there in the end zone. Like Atlanta had their chances to beat Kansas City 100%. Atlanta, the last 2 weeks, has looked like, in my eyes, the best team in the South.
Me too. See, Jack, we're really on. Like Jack and I, again, we just had the list today. We did not talk at all about what our rankings were. But basically every single point that Jack has said is the exact point that I'm making.
Great minds think alike.
It is. It really
Great minds think alike.
No, Tampa was supposed to roll the Broncos, and to watch Atlanta the last 2 weeks hang in there and a missed PI call against the Chiefs away from winning.
Drake London's look good. Kyle Pitts has looked good.
Yeah, beat Philly on the road. They probably should have lost that game, but still, have that drive that Kirk had. They're 1-2, but I think New Orleans is phony. Especially phony compared to what people were talking about after week 2. Yeah, this team is they'll threaten for the division, but they're not a super team. Like they're not going to be 13-4 or anything like that. If I were the Bucs, I'd be worried about Atlanta. I think I'm with you that I'd have Baltimore in this spot.
I'd probably still have Baltimore as well.
And part of it is because how much do you really trust Baker? Like I like Baker. I think he's good. Obviously he's good enough to get to the playoffs, get to the second round, but he's gone for 185, a touchdown, a pick, 163, a touchdown, a pick the past 2 weeks.
And this upcoming week for me, who does Tampa? Who do they have this week? Tampa Bay.
I don't know.
I was looking at it before, but
is it New Orleans?
I just looked it up before, but this is a big week in my eyes for
Atlanta.
them.
They're at Atlanta.
Yeah, right, okay. Like that's a huge week for both those teams.
Well, if you're the Bucs, you get the chance now to get that 2 games up.
I think this is a spot this past week where Tampa Bay was at home off a huge win, hosting Denver as a big favorite who was 0-2. Might have took them lightly, and Denver was desperate 0-2. But now to see how Tampa Bay responds on the road against the team who we both view as the biggest threat.
Yeah.
This is big for Tampa in my eyes this week.
At 3, he has the Dallas Cowboys, who I'd have them higher, but week 1 feels like a long time ago. Past 2 weeks, they've been completely embarrassed in their home building by the Ravens and by the Saints.
I'm going to put them at 1.
No, you really could. You could. And frankly, it's just because of the Eagles. Like the Commanders and Giants are not a problem. But
I think I'd probably pick Philly to win the division right now.
Gun to your head right now. Yeah, everyone's picking Philly.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you're picking the Cowboys at this point in time. You can't really get over. We tried to find ways to justify the Cowboys' philosophy this offseason. I'm not going out and getting more weapons, but they didn't do it. We tried to figure out could it work? And last year they mostly made it work last season, but now outside of CD, the run game is non-existent. It was kind of comical watching Derrick Henry go in there after Jerry Jones said they couldn't afford him, but to see, you can always make it work. To see Derrick Henry run for 150 yards or whatever it was, it's like, that could be useful. So I don't know. defense looks bad. Offense looks worse. It's disgusting.
They couldn't stop Baltimore. Whether it was Lamar or Henry, it felt like they were getting down the field at will, and Dallas was helpless. I know it ended up being a 3-point game too, but this was a blowout. For the most part, Dallas was blown out at home back-to-back weeks. I mean, it was 28-6, right?
Yeah.
Then you score a touchdown, get an onside kick. I mean, so much fluky crap had to go right to even make this close.
Are you out? Are you out on Dallas though?
I think I'm out on Dallas in terms of them winning the division.
I mean, they are only one game back.
I know. I think Philly's better than Dallas. This is alarming.
I think that the take that I have on Dallas is that right now, yes, I do feel that Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC East. There are a lot of problems in Dallas. I also think, Maurice Jones-Drew showed 10 teams, I think, last night that he said were better than the Cowboys in the NFC, or 8 teams. And I'm looking at that with my dad, and we both just looked at each other and said...
Probably disagree.
We both looked at each other and said they could beat any of those teams, too.
Yeah, I mean, that I disagree with.
I still think that there's, part of doing these shows are you have these big takes and things, and we are going week by week, as we've said multiple times now. But also, if you're kind of being realistic, Dallas will also wind up still being very good this year because they have one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. But at this point in time, with what you're seeing, yeah, I think 3 is a good spot because the Eagles are just better.
And we talk about the Chargers. They got a great quarterback in Herbert, and not really anybody who scares you. And when I see Dallas, I see the same type of thing. I mean, there's CeeDee Lamb, and outside of that, if it's not Dak to Lamb for 4 quarters, I'm not super...
Justin Herbert is... Justin Herbert's watching this right now, and he's saying, God, I would love CeeDee.
I'd love CeeDee Lamb. Yeah,
he's like, you kidding me? Try going out there without CeeDee?
I know, but my point is, if it's not Dak to CeeDee for 4 quarters, who's it going to be?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
That's shown the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've gotten mauled. The defense has looked horrible. Really, really horrible. It's just concerning. They got to beat the Giants. They better beat the Giants this week, or else the panic button's...
no. If they lose
the panic button's high.
It's yeah. So number 2, we have 2 teams left here: the Ravens and the Lions. Can you guess who Ziggy has as the second most vulnerable defending division champion?
I mean, the most vulnerable for sure is Detroit. He better have Baltimore at 2.
It is Baltimore at 2.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's Baltimore at 2, and I guess I still feel pretty good. I picked the Ravens to win the division. I still feel confident that they're going to win the NFC North. The schedule's hard. We talked about it.
I'm out.
Yeah, well, of course you're out on. But I think Cincinnati is actually the biggest challenge. Is that is that offensive to you?
I think we're the biggest challenge.
I think you guys are. You know who you are.
You're
the Seattle Seahawks.
No. Most years, yeah, but not this year.
Not with Justin Fields.
No. Our defense is 10 times better than Cincinnati's. Lamar's 1-7 against us, and now that we're off to a 3-0 start, we're 2 games up in Baltimore, and Lamar's 1-7 against us in his career.
No, I understand.
We're the biggest threat.
I think that you guys are a 5 out of 10 threat.
No, we're higher. That's absurd.
I think you're a 5 out of 10 threat.
So let's put yourself in Baltimore's position. You're 2 games behind a team that you can't beat.
I'm more scared of Joe Burrow than I am the Steelers.
Even the Steelers' defense?
I am scared of TJ Watt.
I think Fields is better than Burrow.
I think TJ Watt is scary, but if they'll probably split with you, right? You have to assume. Let's say they split.
No,
come on. You can't be sitting here and realistically saying I expect to sweep the Ravens.
Yes, I can. Lamar's beat us 1 time in his career. So what would you let's say that he was a quarterback for the Vikings, Darnold. Let's say Darnold had a career record of 1-7 against the Packers, and you were 2 games behind them. Wouldn't you be a little bit it's this little
No, I think that the Steelers' start to the season is a little unexpected, and and they've looked good. They've gotten better every single week, but I'm just not ready to really buy into them yet. I think that they're more kind of squeaking by and been beating teams that they haven't been authoritative.
We destroyed the Chargers. Did you see the second half? They had 0 total yards. And we had
I'm not counting the Justin Herbert-less Chargers.
So Heineke's catching strays?
Heineke is catching strays. I mean,
that's unnecessary.
I think that if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm feeling good right now. For where we were a week ago, to beat Dallas the way they did. And it did get close at the end, but
I'm telling you,
I'm feeling okay.
I'm telling you, as an AFC North person,
No one's scared of Cleveland. I'll tell you.
No, they stink.
What happened to that defense? I mean, what's going on?
They were never good.
Ugh.
But I'm telling you, as an AFC North guy, the Ravens fans will come into these comments, say they are more scared of us than Cincinnati. I will guarantee you that. I'll bet you on that right now. Shake on it, live on air.
Yeah, on air. All right, we'll make a reel of this. Who are Ravens fans more scared of, the Bengals or the Steelers?
Ravens fans are more scared of the Steelers with TJ Watt and our defense and being 7-1 against Lamar than they are of the Bengals.
Joe Burrow.
1,000,000%.
The answer is you're more scared of Joe Burrow. That is
no. I'm more scared of the Pittsburgh defense and a team you can't beat.
Scared of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins.
I'm not scared of Burrow. The Patriots beat them.
So we'll have to see. So then number one now, he has the Detroit Lions as the most vulnerable. I don't know if I actually agree.
I don't know. I'm back and forth on that.
I don't think I agree. The most vulnerable.
No, the most.
Maybe he's right.
The most vulnerable, I think, is Dallas, just because of Philly. That's why I put it number one.
I think I'm with you there too.
That's why I put it number one. But Detroit is probably top three. I mean, they haven't looked super duper sharp.
Bucks or Lions more vulnerable, in your opinion?
I think the Bucks.
I think the Bucks are more vulnerable too.
The Bucks are more vulnerable than the Lions.
I think there is a line, that 4 to 5 spot. So the Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Bills. If I'm making the list, now we completely lose the purpose of the segment. I'm probably going Chiefs 8, Bills 7, Texans 6, 49ers 5, Ravens 4, Bucks, Lions 3, Bucks 2,
and then Cowboys.
I think that's right.
I'd probably have something similar to that, yeah.
But to have Detroit at 1, I do think that you can argue this, and Ziggy would be able to make a good argument to have Detroit at number 1 because they have not been impressive. I mean, if you go through their 3 games right now, down to the wire with the Rams, who you could argue should have won that game. It was back and forth, so it's a good win for Detroit. Lose to Tampa. I mean, tons of miscues, but you still lose that game
at home. And
then against Arizona, they were in control of that most of the way through, but there was that huge 2-minute warning call that went in their favor.
Yep.
And from then, give them credit. They did control the game from there. But Jared Goff has still been shaky. Defense has been okay. But Goff being shaky is not something that makes you feel comfortable. And Laporta, where's Laporta? He's kind of disappeared. And then the biggest threat is that, the Vikings look really good and the Packers are winning games and then looking good without Jordan Love.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit's going to be fine. I was going to say that the same type of thing. Their defense has looked good the last, especially this past week against the Cardinals, holding to 13 points on the road.
It's 2010, yeah.
2010, 2013.
Or 2013, yeah, 2013.
The offense, Goff has looked shaky, which is a bit of a concern, but it's early and I think they'll be fine. But I believe they're most vulnerable, not because of how good they may be, but it's because Minnesota's here at 3-0 and Green Bay's 2-1 without their starting quarterback. And
Caleb Williams is about to come on.
No, he's But why are we just now going to write off Minnesota just because they're Minnesota? I mean, they beat the Niners and the Texans. Of course they're a threat to the Lions.
Yeah, it is kind of funny with the Vikings how I feel like I've said it every week. And, I'm a fairly pessimistic fan, as most people know. I don't get my hopes up very often. My boss actually is a Vikings fan, and he texted me today. We've been texting after each game, just very briefly. And he said, too much hype. We need to stay in the shadows. And I wrote back, I'm approaching excitement the same way I would approach petting a tiger. If I'm going out to get excited, I have a feeling it could bite me.
It's got to be slow, right?
Slow, very.
Maybe pull back a bit.
Yeah, you get I'll get there eventually if it warrants it. But yeah, it's if you pet the tiger, man, you're not going straight in. You're going to get your hand ripped off, and that's kind of what it's like being a Viking fan. For everyone knows if you're a Viking fan. But they look really, really good.
Yeah, no, they do.
That's the other thing. We said, if they beat San Francisco, we'll get excited. Then we said, if they beat Houston, we'll get excited. So at some point, you do have to get excited.
Why not consider them a threat? And also, the Lions are competing with teams now in Green Bay who should have went to the NFC Championship last year against them, and Minnesota, who's beaten 2 of the better teams in the league. So to put Detroit at 1 here, I understand it. I probably wouldn't, but I understand why he did.
Still a very good Lions team.
Right.
Still a very
I don't want to take anything away from the Lions. Yeah, I mean, it's the opposite of the Texans. Like,
who's a bigger threat? The Vikings or the Packers?
I'm going to hate to admit this to you. No, I'm going to actually say the Vikings. I'm going to say the Vikings.
It's fine. I mean, say whatever you want.
I had the Vikings at 13-4 preseason. I think Green Bay is good. I think they beat you this week, but I think Minnesota is the biggest threat to the division.
It feels like a Packers spot this weekend right now. It's again, we're recording on Monday right now. It's still super early in the week. We're going to have a ton of content on Vikings Packers, but it feels like a Packers spot where Darnold's sort of due for regression. The Packers are at home, kind of rolling. The Vikings have been exceeding expectations. Love returns. They're the Packers. We're the Vikings. Like, everything points in the direction of Green Bay winning by maybe even double digits. But I do think the Vikings are the bigger threat at the moment.
No, I'd say they are too, yeah.
And really, the only question in my mind is whether or not Darnold can keep it up. And that's a big question. So Packers fans are totally right if they come in and say, hey, like that, yeah, you can't just, you can't just put all your faith in Sam Darnold and say you're better than us. Like, he could implode at any moment. That's totally true. But from what you've seen so far through 3 weeks, like, he looks good. And the defense looks great.
I'd also expect the defense to digress a little bit. I mean, I've been floored with what I saw.
I think they're the first team in 20 years to have 5 or more sacks in their first 3 games.
But yeah, I've been floored with what I've seen with them. They've looked flat out amazing. And to hold Stroud to 7 points, this will change. I think I'll finish the year saying Green Bay is probably the bigger threat. But right now on September, 23rd, second day of fall, I'm going to say it's Minnesota.
Well, and I think the Packers are very good. I think the Packers
100%.
have been...
I mean, Green Bay, yeah.
If you really take the season in perspective right now, given what's going on with Green Bay, they got to be one of the more impressive teams in the league.
You also know Jordan Love will be back. He'll be good. He'll be consistent. Sam Darnold's more of a question mark. Right now, he's proving everybody wrong, though.
But how much more so here's actually kind of a question that I want to talk about a little bit with you. Like, we're just kind of spitballing right now, but Jordan Love was awesome to close the year, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's the MVP of the league the second half of the season. And Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold. But I actually might trust the Vikings offense to be better consistently than Green Bay. Like, it's weird to say that, but I think with Addison, with Jefferson and Hawkinson, like, maybe you trust Green Bay more, but the Vikings offense is not as far away from Green Bay as people think. I mean, it could be better. I think the peak might be higher. I
agree. The ceiling might be higher. And you mentioned Addison and Hawkinson aren't even playing right now. And they put up 34 on Houston. And Darnold's looked great without those two. Jordan Love last year, the last 10 games, he had like 1 turnover?
No, he was unbelievable.
So just what he's done, just what he did, I think I trust him to just take care of the ball more.
More than Darnold?
And I can see a world where Darnold kind of just becomes the Darnold we're used to. Again, I don't want that world, but I could see that world. So I just trust Jordan Love a bit more than I do.
Okay, no, I'm not trying to for anyone listening, I'm not trying to be a Vikings fan who's pumping us up too much. I'm genuinely curious what people think. Like, at what point have you seen enough from Darnold to say, okay, kind of like with Goff, it's eventually we got to the point where people said, right now there's still questions about Goff once in a while, but most people think Jared Goff is very good and they trust him in most situations.
Hey, Darnold has his haters too. He's proving people wrong.
Yeah. So I wonder, between the Vikings, Packers, and Lions, and a lot of people thought it would be, not you, a lot of people thought it would be the Bears in this conversation instead.
No way.
But that division is really fun because all 3 teams can kind of come at you in various ways. Like, the defenses have good rushers. I mean, their secondaries the Vikings and Packers secondaries are playing well for the most part. And then the offenses can be very explosive, but they all have these little parts of them that you question, like Love's injury. I still have some questions about Love, actually. I still need to see some things answered. And then Goff and Darnold have that, they could blow up at any time.
Yeah, but I mean, Sam Darnold has looked great. I mean, I'm not
MVP candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see him blow. I'm rooting for the kid.
People are talking about Darnold right now, and we said this at the start of the year. No, I didn't see anyone else really talk about this. But one, Sam Darnold, the thing that's trending that he's younger than Joe Burrow.
Yeah, he's 27 years old.
He's 27 years old.
I mean,
what does he have to do, to get a contract extension? And would JJ, you're trying to find, I saw John Middlecoff say this on his 3 and Out podcast. He's like, you're trying to find the guy. That's the whole point of this. Whether it's McCarthy or Sam, if Sam Darnold's great, all year. At some point, you have to say, hey, like JJ's super young. Let's keep him on the bench and sign Darnold for another year. Keep letting him learn. I mean, the Packers, there's a reason Jordan Love's in his 5th year.
I mean, this is
it's kind of fun. It's a fun topic.
No, this really is becoming the best division in football. Like, it's being molded like that week by week. And if Sam Darnold wins this division,
then it's all
like that's like 100%. Like, he's your quarterback the next few years, right? JJ's the backup.
Yeah, the NFC North
that's guaranteed.
It feels so weird right now because you don't really know who to trust at times. So it doesn't have the star power that, there's no Mahomes. There's no
Josh Allen.
There's no Lamar and Burrow. There's no, there is no like stud quarterback.
Lamar sucks.
But but they have like very good teams. And Jordan Love is the guy. If there was going to be one star quarterback of the group, it will be Jordan Love, assuming he continues to trend up.
Sam Darnold's saying, "Hold my beer."
Sam Darnold's
saying, "Hold my beer."
What, he's like a year older than Jordan Love, right?
He's saying, "Hold my beer."
It's really exciting to see.
He feels like a fossil, but he's not.
No, you look at Sam Darnold and you think he's like 34 years old.
Yeah, and there's always two like
we saw him at USC he was in college when we were in college.
Yeah, he's a year above us. We're 26. They're almost 26. But there's also that chip on your shoulder. Like, when nobody's believed in you in the past, you have that reputation. Now you come into a different team, a different system. He's not as bad as people think, and he's showing that.
This wasn't supposed to turn into the Around the NFC North segment. Like, we weren't going to do it tonight, but it kind of did turn into.
It's just natural.
It's natural. But I think it's a fun conversation topic to have.
Do you think the Bears finish top 5 in the SEC this year? I'd say
Georgia, Bama, Tennessee,
Ole Miss.
Bears probably coming at 5. Right?
Texas.
I'm not. Oh my gosh! I totally forgot about. I forgot about Oklahoma and Texas. Yeah, no, they're out.
Oklahoma. No, they stink.
They beat Missouri. The Bears beat Missouri.
Bears beat Missouri. Yeah. Bears beat like Auburn, Arkansas.
Yep. Beat Auburn, Arkansas.
Florida.
They beat Kentucky.
A&M, Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd slate them probably 6.
They're 6. Easy 6.
Easy 6. Yeah.
That's brutal. That's brutal. So our friend Mike today was asking. Our friend Mike called, the Jinx, and he says, he's like, "Hey, Paulie, if we beat Dallas," he's a Giants fan. "If we beat Dallas, we're kind of back in it." I was like, "Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, if the Giants do beat the Cowboys and are 2-2,
yeah, Dallas they're 1-3.
Like, they are in it.
Yeah,
right.
Of course they are. I mean, if they win, what's the worst they are? A game back on Monday.
Yeah, game back of Philly, and Daniel Jones is definitely rebounded. Mike's going, we didn't know Minnesota was this good. We should have beat the Commanders.
I mean, Neighbors is awesome.
Like, there's a world right now where the Giants are 2-1 and have a chance to go to 3-1 against that. Like, that's not out of the world, even though everyone's making fun of them.
No, this is a big game Thursday night for them at home.
Yeah.
If they can get this done, I don't think they will. But if they do, why not have some hope?
Yeah, I think it's a fun spot for Giants fans who didn't really after that week 1, you were expecting them to just kind of get crushed every game this year.
We didn't know the Vikings were a machine, though.
We didn't know. Well, yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know Sam Darnold was.
That was Darnold back in MetLife, proving those ghosts he saw wrong.
I was so happy that he didn't get seriously hurt
on that turf.
They said it was just a bruise today. They did an MRI.
I thought you were talking about the MetLife.
Oh no, at MetLife. Yeah.
But yeah,
after he went down, like today, everyone was talking about the MRI, and I'm like, is that more serious than I thought? That would have been very fitting.
Very disappointing.
Like, I'm waiting for the injury. I know it's coming.
Well, knock on wood. It
hasn't
happened yet.
I see it.
It hasn't happened yet. You gotta have some faith.
It was so good during the Texan game that I actually had the feeling come over me. I went like, something bad's gonna happen. Then the Jinx texts, and then
he goes down.
I was like, yep, this is like it all happens immediately.
Us two teams, like, we're polar opposites. Like, you'd have a quarterback that's rolling, and then he gets hurt, so then it just goes downhill. Like us, like, we can bring in anybody from the street and he'd be amazing. We'd be a playoff team.
Oh, like, no, you guys. I mean, no, he wouldn't even be amazing. You just win. You just find ways to win.
We'd win and be a playoff team. Like,
it's like the Steelers will have, there'll be punts and like the wind will change direction and it'll like bounce off a Bengals player's foot.
And we'll recover it.
You'll recover it. And the next thing you know,
we'll kick a field goal.
Kick a field goal, like, curving. That's how it works for you guys. And
I'm happy about that.
For us, it's like, the ball would hit a bird or something.
And falling complete.
If it hits a bird, I guess it's just a block, right? I never really thought about that.
Yeah. Or like you throw it into the ref.
Yeah, I feel like the Falcons or the Seahawks can. You're sacrificing a Falcon or a Seahawk possibly, but you train the bird well enough. There's a big kick.
I mean, that's a huge advantage.
You send him out there and just say, buddy, to take this one.
That's a huge advantage.
I wonder, it probably wouldn't even. I mean, a hawk is a big bird. I don't know if that kills it.
Those Hawks and Falcons are big.
I think we may have just come up with a brilliant strategy.
I mean, if it actually
the Cardinals are in trouble. The Cardinals, he's done.
The Cardinals dead. But
he stops the kick.
The Falcon's huge.
Falcon, Seahawk, Eagles.
Eagles, too, are big birds.
Train your birds.
I mean...
Imagine have someone like way up on the roof. He's just like 3, 2, 1, boom.
Imagine that.
You have a peregrine falcon. I mean, he's splitting the ball in half.
Yeah. Imagine that home field in Philly too. Like it's already good, and now you add an eagle.
A bald eagle come in and swoop the ball to win the game.
That's $1 million idea.
I could be turned on the Eagles. Like that would turn.
Should we reach out to the Falcons and the Eagles and let them know the idea?
It's crazy. I actually like the idea.
I do too.
I actually like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
See how things can go off the rails when Ziggy's not here.
Ziggy Wash is like, oh, jeez, I got to show up now.
Yeah. All of a sudden it turns into just a shit show. But all right, that'll wrap up this week 3 recap of the Paul Farrington Show. We're planning on going live before and after the games this weekend with big slate of games. Who's Steelers got?
We got the Colts. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem. But
4-0.
Yeah, you would hope. Knock on wood. You would hope.
We're gonna be sitting here on Sunday. Maybe 4-0 Steelers. I mean, the Vikings are 4-0.
Do you understand, before we sign off real quick, do you know that we're going to be like 8-0? Like, take a look at our schedule. We're going to be 8-0.
So this is the Colts this week?
Yeah. Then we host like Dallas at night. We're not going to lose to them.
You host Dallas, up at night.
Then we
at the
play
Raiders.
like the Raiders. They're terrible.
Host the Jets.
We won't lose to the Jets at home at night either.
Host the Steelers.
Well,
host the Giants.
Yes. That's 8-0.
At the Commanders.
9-0.
Host the Ravens.
10-0. They can't beat us. 11-0.
At the Bengals.
11-1.
Host the Browns.
12-1.
At the Eagles.
12-2.
At the Ravens.
12-3.
Host the Chiefs.
13-3. That's Christmas Day.
Host the Bengals.
14-3. That was
13-4 is in play.
Oh yeah.
I think like 11-6 is probably the number.
I think we're getting the 1 seed.
The schedule is super light, but that's a very Steeler thing. Like this is what we're talking about. Like it just shapes out well. It just finds ways to conform to whatever works for the Steelers.
You want to come to the bright side?
Dude, I wish. It's not. It's at this point. What did Vader say to Luke? He's like, it's too late for me, son. It's too late for me, Jack. I'm gone. All right, we hope everyone enjoyed this without Ziggy. We do the best we can to hold down the fort.
We did our best.
Oh, real quick, I saw comments. Every now and then I see like a comment on us from Reddit or someone shows something to me. And people either call us nerds or frat bros. It's a very interesting, like it's a very polarizing two words there.
That's funny because I know the whole like enigma of all that stuff is like very opposite of each other. Right, like you got the frat bro and the nerd, like opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, so we're either frat bros to people or nerds. So
that's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, you decide. Are we frat bros or nerds? Maybe it's because I'm wearing a backwards hat.
I got the glasses on. Maybe these stupid sunglasses.
It could be a combination.
Yeah.
Could be. You decide.
I guess week by week. Who knows? Because it varies.
All right, we'll see you guys for some more week 4 stuff. Week 4, crazy. See you.